Jobscan staff training. I'm hoping that you can hear me. Um, Last webinar, we did have a couple of issues with sound. So if you're having any uh, audio issues like crackling with sound or anything like that, please feel free to type that into the chat window just to let us know that that's happening. One resolution that we came around with is that if you are dialing in through the phone, it seems to be isolated to that phone connection, so you could either disconnect and try and call into a different number, or use your computer audio. That seemed to be working well. And then also, just a couple of housekeeping things. Please use the chat to communicate with us. Your sound is currently muted through this tool, and the chat's moderated, so I'll be monitoring that as we go through. And yeah, I'll respond to questions as I'm able to as we go into this. And so, again, welcome to the staff training. My name is Kay Ishida. I'm a Senior Project Manager at Work Systems, the Workforce Development Board for Portland Metro. And we also have Amanda Ostrov presenting today, and she's the Business Development Manager for Jobscan. She'll be doing the bulk of the demo. And so I'm really excited to be presenting with you today and launching this tool, because I think it's an awesome addition to our suite of available tools, and I think it's really going to be a value add for our customers and for you to assist them. And so this is our agenda. I just did a brief introduction. We're going to talk a little bit about the support model for Jobscan and how we're rolling it out. Amanda's going to do a demo, and then at the end, we'll talk a little bit about the self-service option that has just become available, do some Q&A, and then we'll wrap up. And so this is the introduction. This is the admin support model that we're using for Jobscan. And so I'm hoping that you guys can see my screen. I'm looking at a login here. It's telling me that you can see it, so I'll assume that you all can. So over here on the left, thank you, Wendy. And so over here on the left, this is my role. I'm basically the account manager or contract manager for our overall account with Jobscan. And so my role is to help with reporting, manage the contract, and also if there's any issues that need to be escalated to Jobscan directly that we can't resolve ourselves, I'm the person to do that. This middle box here, in each region, there's a contact at your local workforce development board that is essentially providing administrative support, helping to get access to the user accounts in your region, also providing some subject matter expertise and support for your region. For the Portland area, we do have identified people in each center to perform that role as well, and I'm going to show that to you, show you who those people are here in a moment. And then this last box is essentially you guys. This is the folks at the center staff, and the accounts that we're going to give you access to for Jobscan are for you to use in order to support your customers. And so the idea is that once you get access to your premium account, you'll be able to sit down with a customer and actually scan their resume and give them coaching using Jobscan as a tool. And so I want to make that clear. The provisioning or the getting access to the accounts is really for your use to help your customers. We do have a way to give access direct access for customers to Jobscan. And I want to, and hopefully we'll have time at the end to cover that process. But I just want to be clear on that. This account that you're getting access to is for you to use to support your customers. Okay, and so this slide are your regional administrators. So I'll send this out and follow up, but I want you to just quickly have a look at this slide and make note of who your contact is in your region, because that's who you're going to email to request access to a Jobscan account. If you're in Portland, you'll notice that Portland's not listed there. On the next slide, we have the Portland administrators. So each center in the Portland area has their own administrator. So that's your contact if you're in Portland. And that's essentially it for now. I think we'll cover the self-provisioning set a little bit later after Amanda does her demo. But I'm going to hand it off to her so she can give you all of the detail about how to use Jobscan. So Amanda, it's all yours. I am going to stop sharing this presentation.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, everyone. I am sharing my screen now. So you should all see Jobscan's homepage. Do you?
I can't see it yet.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Let's see. How about now?
No, still nothing.
There we go.
Yes, now we see it.
Okay, wonderful.
Oh, wait, yes, now we see it. Thank you.
Yes. Thanks so much, everyone. So I'm Amanda Ostrov. I am the Business Development and Partnerships Manager at Jobscan. Jobscan is a software tool that helps you analyze your resume, cover letter, and LinkedIn profile against a job description. We are based in Seattle, so we're in the Pacific Northwest as well. And we're super thrilled to be able to empower you and your clients with this tool in their job search. So as Kay mentioned, the way that you will be accessing these accounts is they will be provisioned through the Jobscan point person in your region. And so once you request access and they give you access, you will receive an email that looks like this.
Sorry to interrupt you, Amanda.
Yeah, go
ahead. We're getting a couple of requests on the chat for you to turn the volume up on your microphone. And so at the top right of the click meeting window, you should have an AV settings.
Right.
And you can turn your mic up next to your My Info to the left where it says AV settings. Yeah, you can turn your microphone up slightly there.
Test.
And for yes, that's better. And I think for folks on the line, that should probably equalize the volume between Amanda and I. If she's still coming in quiet or too loud now, you can use the volume settings on your PC to control that. But I am getting reports from folks that is better. And it looks like some folks were reporting that they can't see your screen. There might have been a lag there. So if you are not seeing her screen now, please note that in the chat. Otherwise, I'm seeing it. It looks like other folks are seeing it. So we're good to go. Sorry to interrupt.
Great. No, we have to make sure that everyone can see and hear. That's the most important part. Okay. So as I was saying, the way that you are going to get access to your account is your regional administrator will give you access through the Jobscan platform. Once they do that, you will receive an email that looks like this. And, it'll say your career coach, so-and-so created a free premium account for you. So your career coach in this instance is just your administrator. So this is the right email. So what you're going to do then is you will be redirected to a screen that looks like this, and you will add your email address and set your password. And you will see that your password has been reset, and you are redirected to the Jobscan Premium dashboard. So with Jobscan Premium, what I'd love to do today is walk you through like setting up your account, and B, all of the features that are available to you so you can better assist your clients in their job search. So the first thing that I will mention is we have a to-do list right here on the right-hand side that can sort of guide you through in the first time that you're walking through your account. So I'm going to follow this to-do list to guide our demo today. So the first piece here is create your first scan. I'm going to click that, and that's going to redirect me to the bottom of this page. And so what we're going to do is we're going to complete a resume scan. So I have a resume here. I'm going to copy all of the contents of the resume. I'm going to copy all the contents of the resume and paste it into this left-hand box. You can see you can also upload the resume if you have a .doc or PDF file. And then the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and paste a job description on the right-hand side. So I'm going to go and copy and paste the job description. I want to make sure that I have the title of the job description as well as the name of the company. I want to make sure that I have all of the information through the qualifications. If there is language around like this company is an equal opportunity employer, that's language that I would recommend leaving outside of the what you copy and paste in here because that's not necessary in terms of thinking about how you tailor your resume to the job. So the next thing that I'm going to do is click scan. And within seconds, you will have a resume match report. So this 37% is a score out of 100 of how well my resume matches this job description. We recommend getting an 80% or higher in order to consider yourself a qualified candidate and ready to apply for a job online. And to talk a little bit more about our algorithm is based on the algorithms of the top applicant tracking systems on the market. And I'm sure that most of you are familiar with the idea of applicant tracking systems. But as a refresher, applicant tracking systems are the screening technologies that most employers, including 90% of Fortune 500 companies, use to assess candidates. Nowadays there are hundreds of resumes that recruiters have to sort through in order to even get to the pile of qualified candidates. So their ATS helps them do that. So what Jobscan does is democratize that process for job seekers and let you know this is how your resume is going to be read by an applicant tracking system. So with that being said, I will go into talking a little bit more in depth of what exactly Jobscan is assessing in your resume. So the first, we break down the resume findings into two different parts. The first is the ATS findings. So how can you make it through these systems? And then the second is recruiter findings. So how do you appeal to the eye of the recruiter once you make it through that ATS? So within the applicant tracking systems, the most important piece are your skills and keywords. Do you have the skills and keywords that match the job description? And so we actually do a more extensive breakdown of your skills later on in the report. But in this first component here, we'll let you know how many high value important skills you're missing on your resume. The next thing that we're looking at within the ATS is your job title match. So what we mean by this is you should have the exact job title of the job that you're applying for listed somewhere in your resume. And the reason why this is if you think about how the recruiters and hiring managers are actually using their ATS, this will be one of the first things that they likely type in. So customer service representative. If you don't have that listed in your resume, then you will not show up in the search results. For those who have not had this particular job before, that's okay. We recommend including it perhaps in like a summary statement, or perhaps you worked with someone who got this title. Perhaps your title was close to this title, but was not exactly this title. It's important that you find a way to get it in there though. Education match. So some jobs require or prefer an advanced degree or a particular type of degree, bachelor's degree, master's degree. We, in our algorithm, will let you know if your resume has that level of education listed. And then lastly, this is a pretty cool tip. So most applicant tracking systems have commonalities, right? They recruiters and hiring managers will go in and search for certain skills, the job titles, education match, things like that. But each of them do have their nuances as well. And so what Jobscan has here is actually a database that matches employers to the applicant tracking systems that they use. The way that we do that is first you would type in the name of the company. So this is a customer service representative at Nike. So I would go ahead and type Nike, click save. And then I would go and I would copy and paste the URL from the job description. So this is a Word doc copy of a job description, but if you were going directly from a website as you usually would, you would just go here, copy that link, and then go back to your go back to the page, paste it, and save, and then you will see that Nike uses Taleo as their ATS. So Taleo is it's the largest ATS on the market, and will give you particular tips for how to get through this. Like technically Taleo accepts all of these different document formats, but PDF and .doc are the preferred formats. Or Taleo does not correctly parse information from flowcharts. So if you use a flowchart, Taleo will not read that content properly. So you should avoid that. And then also something that's super important is Taleo only recognizes exact keywords. So what that means is if you have product management listed somewhere in your resume and you're applying for a product manager job, that's not picked up as the same thing within Taleo. You would need to have the exact word listed in order to show up in the search results. Okay. I'm going to keep going and we can hold questions for the end unless there's anything super pressing. And Kay will be moderating that on the chat there. So the next piece here is recruiter finding. So how do you make sure that your resume appeals to a recruiter? You've probably heard the statistic, a recruiter looks at a resume for an average of 6 seconds. So in those 6 seconds, you should make sure that your resume is concise. So we'll check for a word count. We recommend not going over 750 words for ease of reading and relevance reasons. With many of our findings, there are exceptions to these rules, right? And if you want to learn more about any of these features, I would recommend clicking on this question mark icon. So for instance, with word count, some of your clients at WorkSource might be applying to jobs within the federal government, or maybe some of them are applying for jobs within academia. These types of resumes tend to be longer, and that's okay. That's where you come in to really help guide your client and say, this rule doesn't necessarily apply to you. But overall, Jobscan always recommends having quality content over quantity of content. Okay, measurable results is the next thing that we look at in your resume. So measurable results are just numbers in terms of what we're actually picking up in your resume. So we'll pick up numbers in their spelled out form as well as their numerical form. These are important because you really want to be able to quickly convey the scope of your work and what you're able to accomplish to recruiters. So recruiters love measurable results. Sometimes these tie to star stories. So these are ways to share that. And related, we also have a list of words in our database with words and phrases that are cliches or negative in tone that we recommend avoiding. So here are some examples of those. For instance, like best of breed or results driven. Instead of saying that you are these things, you should demonstrate through measurable results how you are these things. And we always want to make sure that you're portraying your experience in the most positive light. And then Smart Recruiter highlights. So this is a new feature. So this doesn't show up for everyone. This only shows up if you have something like this, like your industry depth. So we'll look for things like industry depth, industry breadth. If you went to a top tier school, we'll let you know that this is great. You've earned a gold star here because this helps recruiters give you even more priority. Okay. So the next piece here is our skills analysis. So at Jobscan, we look at 3 different keyword groups. We look at your hard skills, your soft skills, and your other keywords. So your hard skills are your technical skills that perhaps you were trained. Maybe it's related to a software. It's a very specific and specialized skill. Your soft skills are more transferable skills. And hard skills are not always more important, though it does depend on the job. Like if you're a software engineer, probably hard skills will be more relevant than your soft skills for your resume. And then other keywords are just words that are listed in your resume or in the job description, excuse me, more than 3 times, but are not categorized in our database as hard or soft skills. And so these skills, we have a highly categorized and curated list of tens of thousands of skills that we have cross-referenced with the best-in-class places to reference like LinkedIn and ONET. So as well as taking from our own database, which has had more than 2 million scans. So this is where our skills database comes from. But what we'll do is we'll actually tell you how many times each skill is listed in the job description and tell you how your resume stacks up. And so if you do not have a particular skill listed in your resume, it will be denoted with a red X. And what we can also do is show you the resume and the job description side by side, highlighting a particular skill so you can start to think about how can I incorporate that skill in my resume. So account management was a skill that I did not have in my resume. So, okay, how do they use it in the job description? Okay, account management, 3 years of account management experience. Okay, so I should be trying to incorporate this into my resume to say that I have 3+ years of account management experience. And then the other pieces here in our skills to talk about is we recently launched variations. So this is related to that exact match feature that I was talking about earlier, how Taleo and other ATS do not necessarily pick up on different variations of words. So I have some variations of the word product listed in my resume several times. So I have products, I have production, I have producers, produced. So these give me areas where I can consider trying to change and wordsmith to have the word product instead. And then lastly on skills, as you see when I scroll through this, there are little gray X's next to each word. Perhaps there is a skill that is not relevant to me that Jobscan picked up. Maybe you accidentally put that like equal opportunity language into the job description when you scanned against, and we'll pick up the skill veteran, for instance. And that's not relevant to this account management position or customer service position that I'm going for. So what I'd be able to do is exclude that skill from my resume. I would need to refresh the scan, meaning I could close here and then go down to this left-hand side and click refresh scan, and then it would no longer be included in my search results. So that is available and definitely helpful to know when guiding your clients through their use of Jobscan. So, as I mentioned, that's all of our features that we do within the skills analysis. We do that for hard skills. We do that for soft skills. We do that for other keywords. And so the last piece of our resume match report is simply job recommendations. So I actually haven't set up my account yet. So if I go to my profile and fill out my information, like my name, my location, including my zip code, that will be able to match me to jobs in my area. So let's actually go ahead and do that quickly so you can see. Okay, do 25 miles full time. And we'll do a different view. There we go. So I just did 25 miles of Seattle. So to go back to the scan that we were looking at, now you can see what we'll do. Our job recommendations, what we'll do is we'll source job descriptions from Indeed, and we'll match you to jobs that match the skills in your resume within your specified geographic area. And we can do the same to the job description, so giving you jobs that are similar to the job that you scanned against. So all of this that you just saw is our resume match report. With Jobscan Premium, you actually have access to a feature called Live Score. And this is where you can actually go in and update the resume in real time. So instead of just looking at the report to help as you make changes, in your Microsoft Word document or wherever you are working from, you can actually go ahead and make the changes directly in the Jobscan platform. So you have the ability to do some formatting here. You can add bullets, tab in, tab back, bold, italicize, underline. But more importantly than the format, you can also, will aggregate the most important information from the report, and you can go ahead and add these skills here. So for instance, client services and account management team. And you can see that how your score goes up in real time, and we'll give you all different context around particular skills. So we can actually give a definition in some instances, and in other instances we can give you example phrases that have performed well in resumes using this particular skill before. So for the purposes of time, I've already gone ahead and done changes to this resume. So I'm going to copy and paste it here. And you can see by taking the information from Jobscan, I was able to get my resume up by 38.6%. When you're done, you can save the resume to a PDF. And you would just make sure to disable your pop-up blocker in order to ensure that you can have that PDF. And it's not, a particularly like beautiful a PDF, but when it comes to ATS, that's really not important, and oftentimes ends up distracting or hurting the candidate if they have too highly of a designed resume, like for instance the flow charts that won't be read properly by the ATS. So this is an ATS ready to go PDF that will make sure that your content is read by those systems. Okay, so that's what I want to cover with resume. I want to briefly mention that we do have a cover letter tool. The cover letter tool is nested within the resume match report because we believe at Jobscan that your cover letter should really be an extension of the resume, not a standalone document. And we'll cover things in the cover letter like word count and contact information, making sure that you include it so a recruiter could contact you if they wanted to, and do a life skills analysis and some other features as well. So I would encourage you to check that out, and please feel free to reach out to our support team if you have questions about the cover letter. So you can see on this bottom right-hand side, there's a need help, email us button at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. This will turn to a live chat, which is available Monday through Friday, 10 to 6. And we will respond to all support emails within 48 hours and live chat immediately. And then those are good for questions of like, how do I use cover letter scan, things like that. For larger account issues, reach out to Kay or your regional administrator. We also have some other resources in terms of learning how to use the platform. So if I go back to my home page here, I can visit our Learning Center. So this is jobscan.co/learning. So here we'll have some great resources that are available for you to use and reference to share with your clients, to use in workshops. We have it just about job search, as well as more specifics for learning how to use Jobscan. So my favorite area here on the Learning Center is actually our video series. So we have 2 to 3 minute videos that show you, not as in depth as we just went into for the resume review, but for instance, like how to scan your resume, 2 to 3 minute videos. So these are really great if you wanted to integrate Jobscan into a workshop or give a brief overview of what Jobscan is, simply going to this link here and sharing that. Okay. So going back again to my home page here, we've gone through most of our to-do list. So we've completed our first scan, we've reviewed our match jobs, we've visited the Learning Center. The last piece here is to optimize your LinkedIn profile, which I will show you today. So I'm going to click Optimize LinkedIn. So the first step here, which is important to note, is that you're going to be connecting with your LinkedIn profile. So, and the reason why this is important is in terms of optimizing a LinkedIn profile of your client, you won't be able to do that through your premium account because you would need sensitive information like your client's password to LinkedIn and things like that. So in order to optimize your client's LinkedIn profile, you should refer them to the self-service option, which Kay will cover shortly. But I will review this today so you all can optimize your LinkedIn profiles, and also so you'll be able to leverage this and be able to explain this, our LinkedIn optimization tool when sharing with clients. So the first step is you connect with LinkedIn. The second step is you upload an export of your profile. So you'll just go to your LinkedIn profile, click on these three dots, and then save to PDF. So I'm going to upload this export. And then I'm going to click next. So for LinkedIn, we recommend scanning against at least 3 jobs. This is a little bit different than a resume, which you scan against 1 job description, because this should be a bit more evergreen. 87% of recruiters are now on LinkedIn, so it's really a great opportunity to catch their attention and catch the right recruiter's attention. So I'm just going to go to Indeed right now and source a couple other job descriptions here. So we'll go copy this one. So what you can do here, these were here because I had already scanned my resume. Because this is a brand new account, we don't have more to choose from, but you have the option to copy and paste as well. Okay. So LinkedIn optimization report is, it works pretty similarly to our resume match report. We're checking for 80 different checks to ensure that your LinkedIn profile is optimized, and we're still aiming for that 80% match or higher to be like fully optimized. So we'll check for a couple of different things. We'll check for your basic information, like your first and last name, that you have a profile picture, which we specify it here should be both clear and professional, that you include your location and your industry. So for instance, if someone were to search for a business development professional in the internet industry in the greater Seattle area, I would show up in those search results rather than missing that opportunity to do so. We'll check your high impact information, which we define as your headline and profile summary. So your headline actually automatically defaults to your current role. You can change that. And LinkedIn has a pretty generous character limit of 6 to 12 or 120 characters, which you can generally fit 6 to 12 words. What we're saying that you should include in there are the exact job title. So again, that job title match. As well as the most important skills from the jobs. So for instance, we'll give you a sample headline: web marketing manager for global consumer electronics, digital strategy, brand marketing, website, and commerce. We'll also check your profile summary, which is the other highest impact area when it comes to catching the attention of and conveying your experience to recruiters. So we'll check the length to make sure that you're taking advantage of the character limit, but not going over. We're looking for the job title match. We're looking for the key skills. And in addition, we'll also look for at least 2 measurable results. So those numbers and your tone. So looking through those words to ensure that you have not included any of those. We'll look at your work experience, so things like work history. If you have folks who don't have such an extensive work history, that's okay. They probably have quite a few short-term gigs. We just suggest identifying them as such, so contract, intern, part-time, etc. We'll look for the job title match within your work history. We'll look for those measurable results. We'll look for those words to avoid. And we'll also have your back covered to make sure that you're covering all the basics, like the date, the job title, the company name, and the responsibilities. and the responsibilities are really the area where you can make an impact and target those keywords and skills that are the most important for these jobs. We'll do the same thing that we do in the resume match report. So we'll compare how many times the sum of the key skills are listed in the job descriptions against how many times they're listed in your LinkedIn profile. Most likely with LinkedIn, you're not aiming for an exact match of words. Like you probably don't need to use the word marketing 31 times. But you can get a sense for what's important and just really try to get rid of all these red X's if your client does have these particular skills. We'll look at your education, again, making sure that you have the basics filled out, but also that you match the preferred or required degree for this job. Then lastly, we'll offer some tips and tricks like having a vanity URL. So that's like linkedin.com/amanda.ostrov for me. We'll check your number of connections. So this increases your search rank if you have over 400 connections. It's also good because you're encouraging people to expand their professional network. And then we'll look at things like content share because this raises your visibility to your professional network and your search results. But you can also start to, think about building your personal brand. And then, of course, it's good to include honors and awards if you have those. So that is LinkedIn optimization. The last thing that I'll want to show you is just you do have the ability, once you're scanning for customers, you'll have a comprehensive scan history. And something to note is when you are scanning on behalf of clients, due to privacy, you should ensure to not include their name as a WorkSource Oregon policy. And so you'll have this comprehensive list of all of the past scans, and you have the ability to report interviews on behalf of your clients. And this is good to do because that information is going back to Kay and the work systems team. So they'll be tracking that information across the entire organization as a whole. And yeah, I think the other thing here to cover is the resume manager. So you can set a particular resume as your master resume. That would be your baseline for scanning. So for instance, if I go back here, you can see I have this master resume button checked. So this is if I don't want to paste my resume each time, I can just simply have that here. And other than that, I think I would like to pass it off to you, Kay.
Awesome. Thank you. So I've sat on that demo maybe 3 or 4 times now. I'm sure Amanda's kind of used to presenting it, but I pick up something new every time, and I think this time it's the highlighting of the different the help tools that are available in there about just learning about current best practices with resume and cover letters and such. So I think that's awesome. Thank you so much for presenting that. One thing that I want to kind of highlight is something that Amanda mentioned about when you put in information, say you're helping a customer and you are doing a scan on their behalf, not because we have some rules regarding storage of PII. I just want to highlight that point and say that, if you're helping a customer, one way to avoid that PII issue is just to scan their resume without that top portion with all of their contact information. Because Jobscan, as you saw, Jobscan stores the resume. We don't want to unnecessarily store their personal information in your premium account for Jobscan. So Want to make that clear. If you do, it's not an issue. You can go back in and delete out the resume, but if you don't record it up front or don't scan it up front, you avoid that issue altogether. So wanted to highlight that. And then also just want to talk through really quickly before we get to questions about the self-service access option that we've set up for customers. So we've covered how you would get access to your premium account. We've recently made a link available to our own instance of Jobscan through our My WorkSource portal. And so I'll cover that really quickly. Just a high-level overview of that. Essentially, what the customer is going to do in order to access this link, and you can test this out as well, is to log into My WorkSource. And that link to My WorkSource is available through many different means. I think many of your customers probably access My WorkSource through to get access to Train Oregon. So that's one way, through the Train Oregon login button. Another way is to go into the WorkSource Oregon website, and there's a link to My WorkSource there. And so any customer that has done the welcome process or has gone through the UI process should have a login to My WorkSource automatically. You may know this as the WOMIS login. So if they log in through that means, there's a link somewhere to My WorkSource in there. Of course, you can always Google it too. If you just Google My WorkSource, the login page is the first result. And so you click into that, the customer clicks into that, logs into My WorkSource. Then there's a section on My WorkSource called Job Search. If you click on that, it'll have a list of links, and one of those is Jobscan. There's a registration link there. If they click on that, they'll get taken to our instance of Jobscan. They've set up a separate account or a separate space on the web for us so that we can track our users, which is super handy. And so if I go to the next slide here, this is basically the screens that they'll see. So this is what we're asking when they hit that create account screen. Just their email, a password, and a zip code is optional. The zip code helps us kind of determine where they're accessing from. And then from there, they'll get logged into their Jobscan account. And by default, they'll receive 5 free scans with their free account. Now, because we have a partnership, WorkSource has a partnership with Jobscan, we're able to allow our customers access to premium accounts for free. We're paying for those, but our customers will not have to. And so the process for that is once they get on this main page, is they just click the request upgrade button. That sends an email message to me, and I monitor whether or not, I'll monitor the requests that are coming in. So for me, I'll just verify that they are indeed a WorkSource customer. And if they are, I'll go ahead and approve them for access to their premium account. They'll get sent a message that they're approved, and then they'll have access for a year. And so that's essentially the process for, say you're working with a customer and they're pretty savvy, and they are looking to improve their resume. You can offer that as a tool for them, and just maybe show them how to access the link through My WorkSource. But essentially, that's the path. And again, if you have questions, put them in the chat, and then we'll shift to Q&A here in a moment. And then, lastly, next steps. So, number 1, contact your local administrator to get an account. Again, I'll send this out. Actually, I just learned that I can share this with you, this presentation with you through the chat. So I think, let's see. In the top right corner of your screen, you should have a little My Info link. If you click on that, the presentation should be available there in the shared files link. If it's not, give me a moment. I'll figure that out here after at the end here. Number two, get familiar with the tool. So once you get access, play around with it, view some of the videos, learn how to use it. And then number three, use it to help your customers. That's kind of a no-brainer. Probably have a number of different applications that you can use this with, not just one-on-one, but I could see it being incorporated in workshops that you have in your area, or reverse engineering, using it for career exploration. Say somebody has a job that they're interested or aspiring to, you could use their current resume versus their job that they're looking at and identify gaps and use that to develop a training plan, things like that. So lots of different applications. Spread the word with your peers. Let other folks know that this tool is available. And lastly, refer customers to sign up their own accounts. So get them to use it as well. So through that self-service option. So those are the next steps. We'll move on to questions now. And so it looks like, and I'm just going to post these to the chat here. Let's see. So the first question is, does the customer have to be an active customer in Wilmus in order to upgrade to the premium account? And the answer to that question is yes. So I'll be verifying that they are indeed a customer. But that said, they'll get access to the tool through the 5 free scans. And if they want to upgrade, they can do so using that button, provided they do the other registration pieces. And Kim's saying she's using it now. People like it. That's great. And another question that came up is related to, say you're working with a customer and the output on the resume is like when you're working in that, like Amanda showed that live update. When you download it, it's in PDF. And a question came up about, can it output to Word? I'll have to defer to Amanda on that one. I don't think it can, but what you can do is just copy and paste it into a Word document. Amanda, do you have any comment on that?
Yes. So our live score feature is very new. We launched it about a month and a half ago. So as of right now, you can only export to a PDF. We don't necessarily have it on our product roadmap to export it to Word, but I mean, I could see it going in that direction at some point in the next year. For now, it's just PDF, and you can copy and paste into a Word document.
Yeah, I think that's pretty easy to do and reasonable in the meantime. So hopefully that works for you all. And then another question from Kim Williams is the resume? Is there a resume style recommendation per industry? So that's a fairly detailed question that I don't know that you can answer, but give it a shot.
Yeah, in terms of Jobscan and thinking about ATS, it's not really about the industry, and it's more about the systems that the particular employer is using. In general, rule of thumb for ATS is to keep it simple. So you want to have the different sections. You want them to have like names that are consistent and with best practices and not too wacky. You want to not include like charts or tables because the ATS won't be able to read them. So really keeping it simple is Jobscan stance, especially if you're applying through an ATS.
Yeah, I think, that's a good point. I think where the sweet spot for Jobscan really is those things that are applicable to a wide audience and are probably pretty standard industry-wide. And then within each industry, there may be different, I don't know, different trends regarding resumes. Like if you're a graphic designer, for example, and you're applying for a small company, perhaps you include some of those. Maybe your resume is a little bit more visual, but I think those kinds of different specific trends, I think you probably would need to research those, or your customer would need to research those on their own. Versus, JobScan's really has a broad range of applicability. So hopefully that answer makes sense. Another question from them: if a customer uses a resume template, does that affect the scan?
I don't think so. It depends what the template is that they're using. As long as you're copying and pasting, then you should be good. Copying and pasting or uploading, yeah. I guess, yeah, like if you're uploading a template that isn't clear and simple, like Jobscan might read it with red X's, and then you'll know that you need to change it.
Yeah, I think the overall guidance is that as long as the input is text, you're fine, right? And the related question, does Jobscan suggest effective fonts for best ATS viewing?
Oh, well, we actually just published a blog post about resume fonts that we recommend. So you can check that out at Jobscan. Yeah, I think it's jobscan.co/blog. And it's like one of the top articles.
Cool. Well, I think that's probably, we're nearing the end of our time, so we probably should wrap up here. It looks like the shared file feature is working now, so when I conclude the meeting, I'll leave it open so you guys can access that again. You just go to the My Info, your little profile pick in the top right corner, and there should be a button for shared files. Or a link to shared files, and then you can access that there. Okay, so this one last question, it's a quick one, from Amy. It says, do other states use JobScan? And Amanda could probably answer that better than I can. I know that they use it up in Washington and King County, and we actually got a referral from them as well. Are there other states using that? Do you know, Amanda?
So in a formal partnership capacity, it is you guys and WorkSource Washington within King County. I do know that we've had some requests from other workforce development organizations in like Indiana, but in terms of formal partnerships, it's just the Pacific Northwest for now.
Yeah,
yeah. We also do partner with universities across the nation, as well as some nonprofits like the Actors Fund in New York and Wounded Warrior Project.
Yeah, I think once people hear that WorkForce Oregon is using it, it's just going to catch on like wildfire. And I mean that jokingly, and to some extent, I think that's true. Anyway, I just want to wrap up here, and want to thank everybody for your time. Thank you, Amanda, for giving us that wonderful demo. I will post this recording as soon as possible to get it to your coworkers. And again, thanks for everybody for your time. If you have any questions, feel free to email me directly. You could just probably reply to that email link that I send out with this recording. And have a wonderful Friday, great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks again.